gonna tell y'all right now, man, working retail is not as easy as you think. And the customer is not always right. Hey, welcome back to the First Wear Podcast. I am your host, EdotREEP. And so far, man, I just want to thank everybody for the support, the engagement I've been receiving across social media. You can find us at First Wear Pod, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. It's really going the way I envisioned it. Fast, I thought it would take a little longer to start to get that engagement on my posts and like people sharing, but it's like it hit the ground running, so thank you for that. Before we get started, I definitely want to give a shout out to Twan, aka King Rari, because like 7 years ago, he was like, bro, you need to go ahead and start a podcast. Now at the time, I had a lot of stuff that I was trying to do, so like a podcast wasn't like on my radar until you said something. Although it took, quite a few years for me to finally get into it. He is like the reason that I'm even doing this today. So First Wear Podcast wouldn't be here without my dog Twan. So appreciate you, bro. So yeah, recap the first episode, introduction. I really thought I was the yapper of the year. Like I called myself, trying to stop myself from hitting 30 minutes. And after like the edits and everything, I barely hit 10. Going forward, I'm not going to, put myself in the box with like a time string. I'm just going to let the topics dictate the duration of the episode. If I can get every speaking point or like main talking point that I want to get my point across with that topic, make sure like my message is clear and concise, that's all I'm worried about. If I can do it in an hour, or if it takes me an hour to do it, or if I can do it in 30 minutes, as long as I say what I need to say fully and not leave anything out, it's cool with me. So that's cool with y'all, man. We can go ahead and get into it, man. So like the first episode, I did a little teaser at the end. So episode 2, we're going to get into the retail game just a little bit. If y'all want more from this like series, I guess it can be like a mini series on the podcast, like retail stories or whatever you want to call it. Drop it down in the comments below. Or like I said, you can hit me up on the social media. In the comment section, or you can slide the DMs, whatever you want to do. I do have the Google Docs, like the Google form on my link tree. I've seen a lot of people clicking on it, but nobody really really messing with it. So it's there if you want to, but like I said, you can slide in DMs or leave it in the comment section, because I did have a few ideas, a few topics submitted, so that'll be the next episode, one of the community topics. And like I said, I want this to be about the people, man. I want y'all to tell me what you want to hear. I don't want to dictate, what goes on all the time. Like, of course, I have topics that I want to cover, but if y'all have something that you want to hear or whatever, let me know, man. I got y'all. This is for y'all at the end of the day. So yeah, getting into retail, a lot of craziness happened over the years. So my first job, I started at Finish Line. That was May 2012, I believe. Yeah, May 2012. I got hooked up with the job, of course. A good friend of mine was the assistant manager at the time, and they were just now hiring. So they were like, hey, man, go ahead, put that application in. Boom. See what I can do. I passed the application process, and then the next step was the interview, of course. And come on. You get me in person with an interview, and I'm going to pass with flying colors every time. So yeah, I got the job. It was cool. Going into it, I really didn't know what to expect. You have like a perception of what a sneaker job is until you actually get in there. Like nothing can really prepare you for like all the ins and outs. It's more than just getting a shoe out the back, because like you have to memorize the with Finish Line, like every category of shoe is like broken up into departments. So you have to remember the departments, and then once you figure the departments out, then you got to read the SKUs, or like read the box to see what shoe it was and the colorway and all that. So there's a lot of memorization for sure. It's like anything, repetition, you'll start, you'll pick it up pretty easy, man. So like I said, I thought it was just gonna be super easy going there and sell shoes, but like a lot of the customers, especially the mall that I was working in, they are certified window shoppers. They are in there to pass time. They might check to see, what's there so they can come back, that weekend, or come back at a later date or something. They just want to see, like, what's in the store, like, what's available for purchase. Like, when I was in there, I was thinking, once a customer asks for a shoe, and then you get to the whole process, they try it on, look in the mirror, see how they look on feet. I'm like, okay, I'm sold. No, sir. They would come in there and try on 4 pairs of shoes and say, all right, man, appreciate you. I'll be back later. So it's like the time and effort is crazy. But it's one of those things where, it's a customer service job. You don't want to be rude to potential customers that are spending money, or whether they are going to be window shoppers or not. You really don't know. I mean, you can kind of you can try to figure it out. As the time went on, you get repeat customers, so they probably gonna come in and try a couple shoes on and keep it moving. Or then people that come in, they're definitely gonna spend money. But it's one of those things. I did my best to treat every customer the same, unless they were really assholes or they were rude. Then you kind of have to match their energy just a little bit. But it wasn't too crazy for the most part. I did experience a few instances where customer interaction kind of escalated. I'll get into that at a later date if y'all want. Like I said, if there's any topics that you want me to cover on the retail side, let me know down in the comments. But I want to keep this one more light, I would say. But I want to say 2 months, either a month or two into my finish line career, I thought I was gonna get fired. The store that we had it was set up. It was a pretty big store, so you had the front of the store, you had shoe walls on each side, and then you had displays right in front of the main door or the gate, and then you had apparel set up, and then we had the cash wrap or the cash register. We had a double cash register, so we had one register facing the door, and we had the other register facing the back. So if you had 2 cashiers or whatever, they'll be back to back with the cash wrap. So at that point, we were still making commission off any sales. So I want to say shoes, I think it was 1%. Apparel was 2%, maybe 3%, and then accessories are 5% because you really had to sell the accessories. People, for the most part, weren't just coming in for accessories. So they that was your incentive to add on or build the bag, as they would say, because you go into a shoe store to buy shoes. So of course that was the least amount of commission you can get, 1%. That's what they're there to get. You really didn't have to do much. You might have to convince people that were indecisive, but for the most part, if you're walking into a shoe store, you're planning on getting a pair of shoes, and they were more expensive. So of course the percentage was lower because that would have been a lot of extra money. So yeah, so when you would make a sale, you would write your employee number on the inside of the box so the cashier could, give you the credit, because you don't want to do all that hard work and then somebody else getting your commission, especially at that time when that really will make or break your paycheck every 2 weeks or whatever it was. So one day, it had to be a weekend. It had to be a Saturday because the store was booming. And that was the time when the LeBron Elites came out, the Elite 9s, the white, black, and gold joints. So that was the most expensive shoe at that time. I know it was 200 plus. It might have been right at 200 or 250. I can't remember. But it was one of those, if you could sell that went a long way on your check. So yeah, I was able to, help the customer out. Boom, he said you want to rock with him, try them on, everything good. So I'm bringing the shoe to the cash register, right? I leave it on the counter because normally that's what I would do. Leave it on the counter, the cashier put it wherever they need to put it, so out of harm's way. So for whatever reason, that particular day, they didn't touch it. The cashier didn't touch it. I think it was just too chaotic. So I think after, I'm running back like a chicken with his head cut off. It's Saturday, you help them get the shoes, boom, 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 boom. And the line was long. So when I came back out, I noticed that the shoe box was missing. It wasn't on where I left it at. So I looked behind the cash right, I didn't see it. And I was like, yo, what happened with the LeBron Elite? Did you go ahead and ring them out, or somebody put it in the back or whatever? And they was they had no idea what I was talking about. So I'm like, hold up. So I can't remember if a customer said something or I said something to the employees, yo, I think somebody ran off with them. And the reaction that I got, bro, it was yeah, you're done. Because the manager at the time, I guess he was he wasn't going for that. So everybody was looking at me yeah, you might as well turn in your badge and your shirt right there on the spot. Because I had no idea that meant what was the consequences, what I had to pay for that shoe out of pocket. Because like I said, I'm still new and I never had that experience. So I didn't know what to do. I was terrified. I was yeah, I'm about to lose this job, man. It's a good job. I had fun. There's a sneaker spot Like, I was in heaven, making money talking about shoes and selling shoes. Like, I couldn't beat that. So they were like, yeah, you got to call it in to the security or mall management. Now, like I said, I'm new to the game. I wasn't familiar with the lingo for retail yet. So growing up, coming from where I'm from, when you say you got robbed, I mean, you know, somebody got you for whatever, you know, whatever it is, like they got you for it. So it's just like a universal thing. Like, you robbed me, like, yeah, you robbed me for my shoes. I got robbed at school, like the locker, whatever. And like the technical terms, when you get robbed, they assuming that it was like some violence, you know, like they either pulled out something on you. They pulled something, they upped something on you, or they had like a weapon or whatever. So I called it in, like, yeah, we just got robbed. So they came down there. It was like a state of emergency. I think they were about to call the police, or they did call the police. And then they were like, oh my God, is everybody okay? What happened? And I was like, oh, somebody just stole the shoes. They took them and ran or whatever. And they were like, yo, that's not robbery. It was a lot of chaos, and I felt bad because, one, I really thought I lost my job because I got the shoes stolen, the most expensive shoes in the store. Two, I called in a robbery, which really wasn't a robbery. It's just shoplifting, but I didn't know the terminology, so I caused hysteria in the store for no reason. It was wild. It was a wild time, man. It was like I can picture the store and everybody in it and like all the events happening. Like I said, this was 2012. That's how traumatic that experience was for me, because I was like, dog, finally got a good job, man. Finally somewhere that I wanted to be. And just being careless or somebody else interfering in what I had going, like they couldn't just be a good person. You know, it was crazy, but that definitely, it changed the way I did things with in the sneaker game. I mean, in the retail business, I definitely kept a closer eye on things. I stayed with every shoe that I brought out, or I'll put it behind the register, which is like the more common practice now, especially in certain stores. They don't even let you try on both shoes. You getting one, and hopefully that works. If not, you can swap it out for the other shoe if you want to try on your other side. But you're not putting both shoes on in that store at all, just to prevent that thing from happening, man. It was just so crazy because you're risking it all for a $200 shoe, man. But that could have easily went left. Like I said, I called in a robbery, so they would have caught him. You don't know what would have happened, because the robbery, you know, that triggers certain elements of, you know, that interaction, or potential interaction with the police. So they think there's a robbery going on, they're going to assume that you're dangerous. They're probably going to say you're armed and dangerous, and like that could have went super left. But yeah, they didn't catch him. I didn't have to replace that shoe, surprisingly. And I think that's because my manager at the time, you know, he knew I was destined for greatness. I'm not gonna lie. If you go into that old store right now, you go in the back room, my uniform and my badge is like hanging up in the rafters. Like, I'm definitely a legend out there at that store for sure. And don't let anybody tell you different. If anybody's local and y'all know it, legendary things happened in that finish line, like, for sure. We handled business. We were doing things that location never in a million years has done in that entire existence. Like, I want to say we were up to like a $2 million store, like a little over $2 million store volume wise and sales and everything before I got shipped away. That's another side of retail. A lot of moving parts. I had a lot of different managers and staff during my time at that particular location. And toward the tail end of my time in retail before I changed careers, I definitely got shipped out. Yeah, I thought I was better. I thought I was a better manager than apparently that store manager at the time thought. You know, we didn't. I guess my vision or his vision we didn't align. Like, what I guess my style or productivity or whatever didn't align with his vision that he wanted for a store. And I didn't learn that till after the fact. You know, I thought it was more politics involved. Well, more politics were involved behind the scenes than I thought I was aware of. But that's another story for another day. But yeah, before I got shipped off, we were like a $2 million store, man. We were getting crazy amount of shoes for releases, like Jordan releases, man, especially like a GR, like a super GR, easily getting like 300 pairs. I think that might have just been men's, honestly. Like we would get like 300 men's pairs. So that's like 4 or 5 size runs, so like 4 and 5 of each size. And at that time, like that was big deal. Even now, cause like a lot of these stores getting like smaller runs, they might get 2 or 3 in each size. We were getting easily 4 or 5 for sure. Like we get like 5 12s, and for like 9.5 through like 10.5, you probably get like 7 with those. So it was crazy numbers. Like we were doing crazy things at that location. But yeah, it was fun, man. Really don't regret anything. Maybe I don't know. Maybe trusting people more than I should. You know, it was kind of crazy the ending to that particular chapter in my life. But like I said, I found out a lot of stuff like after the fact, and it was like, dang, when you looking back on it, you're like, yeah, I thought we were, better than that. But yeah, it was still fun. I love all the people that I did work with. It was definitely a family. It was a family vibe, man. It was great. I loved the work environment. I never went to work checking the schedule to see who I was working with because I didn't like them or it'll be like a different, mood. Granted, now when you work with the store manager, it's definitely going to be, different than from you working with the AM. They're a little more laid back, not as strict, but it still wasn't bad, But I don't regret anything. Let's see this. Now, big releases, because at that time we were still doing first come, first serve. We didn't switch over to the raffles or tickets or whatever until the Sport Blue 6 release. Now, that release was pure chaos. And like I said, I'll talk about that, different time. Because that's a story on its own. But up until then, first come, first serve. And those were the fun days. Like Saturdays were fun because time went by fast. And if you were scheduled to work for that release, that commission was crazy because it was only like 2 or 3 people maybe scheduled for the release because it was before the store officially opened. I want to say it was like between 8 and 12 if I can remember. So you have like the crazy line and all you have to do is run to the back and get the new Jordans. They were in one section, so like it was the easiest money you would ever make. Like you already like $2,000 or $3,000 up on the day individually. Like you done sold $2,000 to $3,000 worth of merchandise or shoes before the gates officially opened. So like your commission check it was beautiful. I love release day Saturdays, and then you had the rest of the day to do whatever you want because you probably get off about 3, maybe 4. And you're good. Like, it was so fun. And then the customers made it fun. Sometimes you did have to, be the bad guy depending on how they interacted. So, but I personally liked it. I like to work the gate to regulate the lines. Get people in check. Try to cause problems. But I like being the enforcer. It was fun. That was fun for me, especially when people would cooperate. But if you had to shut it down. You had to shut it down. There were a few times you just had to, chop the release. Like, hey, y'all got to come back when the gates open because y'all know how to act, man. People get rowdy when it comes to the mics, man. It was crazy, especially in that area. Yeah, it was pandemonium. And then, on another note, just like the day-to-day stuff, man, it's not all fun and games. Every day is not like release day Saturday. The weekends pretty chill. You just selling as much as you can because it's so busy. But like doing that Monday through Friday, you had to lock in. You had to hit certain metrics. Conversion was a big one. Like you wanted 20%. I think conversion had to be like a 20. So like 20% of the people that walk through those doors or walk through that gate, you want to get them to purchase something. So you want to have a 20% like sales rate or whatever. And they want you to build a bag, So each day, every store has a goal, like a sales goal. And for the most, I think everybody universally is, they want you to beat what you sold that day last year, which is not the most ideal way to run a business because you could be competing against like a retro release last year and it's a Friday, a regular Friday with nothing coming out. So it's like, there's no way. Oh, okay. It's possible, but it's highly unlikely that you would like do 20,000 on a regular Friday with no new releases, So that was kind of like one of the cons to working in retail, depending on what you were matched up against the year before. But so yeah, you get your your daily goal, and each employee will have like a certain number that they need to hit. So it kind of give you like an incentive, or like at least some type of direction to like go out and sell outside of like making commission. When you make your daily goal, then you can make your weeks, and you make your weeks, you hit your months, and then they want you to. At the end of the day, as a business, they want you to turn a profit. So you get pressure from your store manager and your assistant managers to hit certain metrics. And when you're like, when you're failing time and time again, it's hard on the business, and it's hard to, justify keeping you around, or it's like, you're just here to collect the check at the end of the day. You're not really adding to the business. So once I actually became a assistant manager, you start learning the business, and then it's like, okay, you get it a little more, because as a sales associate, you don't really know what goes on behind the scenes unless you like ask questions, because there are emails and conference calls like randomly, and then you have like store to store calls like to talk about certain things. So like, although retail is very fun, like I enjoy it, I love like the atmosphere, the community that you can build, the relationships with the customers and everything. It's still a business at the end of the day, and you have to hit those goals. You have to hit those metrics to keep the business going, because if you don't, then once it's time to like renew your lease in that mall or that storefront you got, it has to make sense for the company. And a lot of stores start to close down if they're not making money. If you're not turning a profit, why do we need to keep you open? It's just a waste of money. So definitely a lot of pressure on management, especially at Finish Line. They were really numbers driven for sure. I know it was at one point you had to send numbers every 4 hours, 12, 3, 6, and 9. So you had four different times. You had to email and like a little spreadsheet or whatever, and the whole district could see what you were doing. So it was like it's kind of like you put pressure on yourself, and then you have peer pressure, because you don't know what happened in that store. They could have set up like a team sale or whatever. So off rip at 12 o'clock, they made their day, and it's like, dang, like what are they doing that we're not? But you don't know like if they had something set up like, come in here tomorrow, who can have all your shoes. It's like certain stuff like that. But they did put pressure on you to actually like want to perform, because at the end of the day, you want to make money. You want to keep your store open so you can continue to have good business. But you did want those bragging rights, like, yeah, we already made our day. Like, what y'all doing? So it was fun, depending on who was talking to you or who was like responding. You get some people that were like on their high horse. They thought they were better than everybody, which you get that with a lot of business. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of pressure, man. It's not as fun. It's not fun all the time, but at the end of the day, it is a job, and you have a job to do. You have certain things you need to focus on to stay in business at the end of the day. If anybody's interested in retail, I would definitely I would go for it. I would advocate for them, especially if you love shoes. It's easier to sell a shoe when you know what you're talking about. Like, I know people just want to go get into retail just for the discounts, which is definitely a perk as an employee. You get your employee discount. That's one of the main draws. But like the day to day, if you don't really like shoes, it gets kind of, well, I guess I don't really know. I can't understand it, but I'm sure it can get a little crazy, because I've had plenty of times where employees come to me just to answer questions from a customer because they have no clue what they're talking about. They're basically speaking a foreign language because they're not really in the shoes like that. Especially at Finish Line, our customer base is vastly different from where I'm working now. It's like you getting technical runners there. Like, if you don't know anything about Pro Nation, you're out back, because they're gonna know from the jump, like, yeah, I don't need to talk to you. I need to find somebody else. So you definitely had to be up on your knowledge. We did have a lot of training, and we had the tools to help you succeed if you really like took the time out to learn. The resources were there, but like it was just crazy. It made me really lock in, especially working at Finish Line, because it's not just Jordans and LeBrons and Kobe's and Air Forces. You really had to know about those technical running shoes, and that helped because the average customer that walked in there Monday through Friday were looking for like running shoes. At the end of the day, it wasn't your Saturday Sunday crowd is not the crowd Monday through Friday. So you definitely had to be on. You had to be on P, man. You had to know what you were doing. But overall, I love it, man. Retail is fun. You do have your moments where the business side overtakes the actual fun side. But a release day Saturday, there's nothing like it, man. If anybody is in retail, you know anybody in retail, ask them about it. Release day Saturday, bro. You can let loose. Honestly, that's when you wear your J's or your Bron, something crazy, something flash, and the customers a little nicer on Saturdays, especially when they can get their pairs. You do get a lot of people after the release calling or asking if you have anything left. So you really have to repeat yourself a lot. But like I said, it's still fun. I miss those release day Saturdays for sure. You do get a lot of, rude customers, man. Long shifts. So like I said, with any job, good or bad, you gotta take the pros and cons. Every job won't be perfect. But if you love shoes, it's a good place to start for sure. So like I said, I'm definitely looking forward to future episodes, future topics. Hopefully y'all are comfortable enough to continue to submit certain topics for me to cover. But like I said, no pressure at all. I have topics in my head that I can talk about all day. So don't worry. The podcast is not going anywhere. But I definitely want to hear from you guys, man. And speaking of that, episode 3 is definitely going to be a community topic, man. Shout out to the sneaker teacher, man. Check him out on TikTok and IG. He's doing this thing. But yeah, he dropped a comment on Facebook, I believe. So y'all can follow us, find us, join the movement. First Wear Pod on all the socials: TikTok, IG, Facebook, Twitter. First Wear Pod. We're on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, iHeartRadio. I forgot, wherever you listen to podcasts or consume podcast content, man. First Wear Pod. You can find us. Love y'all, man. Appreciate all the support. And yeah, hopefully you're enjoying what's going on so far. 2 episodes in, getting a little more comfortable, with this podcast thing in front of the camera. Even though I do have a YouTube and TikTok page where I make content, but it's kind of different on the podcast scene. It's something new for me. So hopefully this episode is a little longer. I'm more relaxed now. I feel like I was really anxious in that first episode to, I didn't want to mess up. But at the end of the day, man, this is an authentic channel. So this is who I am. This is what I love. And I just want to convey that through the stories or the topics. Appreciate y'all for listening once again, man. Buy what you like, wear what you love. This is the First Wear Podcast. I don't know who needs to hear this, but yesterday you said tomorrow. The time is now.